Let's move right to our Weaver subject. Tonight's topic, it being July, is patriotism, citizenship, and safety and how it relates to diversity. And I will turn this over to Commissioner Paul to introduce our first speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight it is my pleasure to introduce the City Clerk of the City of Lancaster, Jerry Bryan, who is going to talk about the election process. And before she takes her place, I would just like to add that I've studied city government for a while, and a lot of people think the manager may run the city, but it's really the clerk. So thank you for all you do for us, Jerry.
Thank you for acknowledging that. I'm sure Mr. Bazigian would almost agree with you. Good evening, Chairperson Dale and all commissioners. Thank you for having me here. I understand you wanted to have some sort of a presentation on elections. First of all, my expertise in elections has to do with local elections, not necessarily the presidential, the assembly, the primaries like that. So I may end up kind of leaning on you that if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer those. Briefly, I can tell you, for those of you who may not know, our elections for the city are held every even-numbered year. So we just had one, obviously, in 2012, and it's always in April. And this is by the election code states that cities can hold elections at that time, or they can consolidate with other entities, or they can hold it in November of even odd-numbered years. But our city has chosen the April of even-numbered years to hold our elections. We have a standalone election, which means we handle everything ourselves. We get the poll workers. I have a staff of three other people, so there's the four of us. We get our poll workers, we set up our polling locations, we work with our consultants, which are Martin and Chapman, and they're out of Anaheim, and they've been in business since 1937, and that's all their business is elections, not just local elections. They handle all elections, and they help every city around, and we couldn't do it without them, actually, because they are the true experts. They guide us through everything. They make sure we know the laws and make sure we're following the schedule. And Mr. Paul himself probably could give this even better because he knows so much about the elections, being a candidate, and he knows the process as well. And the candidates make appointments with me. They go over the paperwork with me during an election time frame, and it usually always starts in December of the odd-numbered year, and it runs through about the third week of January of the even-numbered year. And so they make an appointment, they get paperwork from us, they have to file nomination papers, they have to get nominated by at least 20 registered voters. We have to check the signatures on every single nomination paper. If they don't have enough, if they only have, say, 19, we call them right away. We send them out with a supplemental form to get more signatures if the time allows. So we always encourage candidates to file early in case that happens. The candidates that file right up to the deadline are the ones that end up with a problem because there's no time to go back out and get more signatures. So they do that, and they also are allowed to put a candidate statement on our sample ballot. This particular city allows for a 400-word candidate statement. Most cities only allow a 200-word, but several years ago this council decided 400-word statement is the way to go. When a candidate statement is turned in, it's voluntary. It does cost money. This last time the candidate statement was $2,800. Because it is based on how many turn one in, the cost of the printing, the cost of the mailings. So actually their money is also helping to pay for that. Usually a candidate does get a refund of some sort, but it is their choice if they want a candidate statement, but they don't have to. They can just have their name on the ballot if that's what they'd like to do. The candidate hands in a statement. They have to be sure it's grammatically correct. All errors are correct. Once they hand it in, I am not allowed to change. I'm not allowed to correct it if there are typos. They are not allowed to change it once they hand it over to me. So I always make sure, are you sure this is how you want it? Our last sample ballot, you might have noticed that we did have a candidate who had 10 typos. We asked him if he was sure he wanted to hand it in that way, and he said yes, no problem. So we had to let it go. We have them translated into Spanish. We're required to have them in Spanish. And if someone wants it in another language other than Spanish, we do provide the contact phone numbers for those people to get their information in that other language. Oh, my time's up. Yay. We also have a write-in period, and the write-in period is they also have to file nomination papers and get nominated, and they actually have a longer time frame than a regular candidate. They have about 6 weeks, and they're not allowed to do a candidate statement. They're not allowed to even have their name on the ballot. But we do make sure every precinct knows we do have a write-in candidate. We give them the name of that person and what they're running for. And we always get, when it is time to open the ballots, we do always get write-in. People have written in their own names. They've written in Mickey Mouse, they've written in John Wayne, they've written in Goofy, you name it, they've written the name in. And unfortunately, when they do that, it disqualifies their ballot. It messes everything up for them, so they don't even get to have their ballot counted. Because the ballot counter, which is a machine we drop the ballots into, when it counts, it sees that, and it'll see it as an overvote. So, you know, it doesn't happen too often, but, you know, it does happen. Like I said, we recruit the poll workers, 140 this last time that we had, and we couldn't do it without them. They are citizens of Lancaster. They don't have to be citizens of Lancaster, but LA County registered voters, and they do this out of commitment to their country. They do it out of just, they feel it's their duty to help with this. They're not doing it for the money. They certainly aren't, because they start at 6:30 in the morning. They don't finish up until 9 o'clock at night, and the inspectors for those precincts get $100 for that day, and the other ones get $75. So they're not doing it for the money, but we sure couldn't do it without them. They're wonderful. They are a dying breed, and we always need more poll workers. It's very hard to get poll workers, so we're always looking for new ways for outreach of poll workers. Because as we go on through the generations, we will come up on generations that don't see that as a necessity. We would love to go to an all-mail ballot and have everyone just vote by mail. However, it's not really something that everybody is on deck with at this time. It wouldn't necessarily save money except paying the poll workers, but that money would then go over into more postage, more ballots, more envelopes. So it kind of evens out. So there's no justification for it, except we wouldn't have poll workers. A lot of them would be upset. They're still doing this. Our average age of our poll workers is 76. We do the ballot counting in the south lobby of the Public Works lobby on election night. It's open to the public. All the ballots are brought in there. We have everything set up along the counter, and people come in and watch the ballots happening, and we have a screen up so that you can see each precinct come in and see how it's going. We always try to make sure we can count the vote by mail ballots first. We by law are allowed to start opening those 7 days before the election. Opening is different than counting. We're certainly not counting. We get a board of city staff, usually of 8 people, and they are committed to coming to our department every day for 2 weeks, 2 weeks, for 3 or 4 days. And they sit down and they open every envelope and they pull every ballot out, and they're not looking to see who got the vote. They're looking to make sure it's readable, because we do get ballots that are torn, crumpled, might have coffee spilled on them. If that happens, we are allowed to duplicate them. As long as we can read the voter's intent, we can duplicate it. And we do that in front of the board, we do it in front of the public, and we hold it up and we make sure everyone agrees I've just marked the right bubbles for those candidates, and we have a paper trail to show. And we will duplicate probably anywhere from 50 to 150 ballots out of the 6,700 ballots we'll get in vote by mail. So we have to open every one. We've checked the signatures on every one of those, and it's a very busy time, but my staff loves election time. We kind of thrive on all the stress and everything that's going on. I know that's crazy, but we do it. And on election night, there's about 40 city employees that volunteer their time to help with the ballot counting and all the boxes that are coming in. The sheriff's explorers come over and they help us with bringing everything in. And it's a great evening, and it's actually kind of like a community event. And it's an exciting time, and what we like most about doing a standalone is we know the results right then and there. Whereas with a county election, it could be 3 or 4 days or longer before you know the results. And as you know, we were watching the primaries happen, still didn't know if it was going to be Fox, Lackey, Smith, how it was all going to, and it took a long time for the county to finally say who it was going to be, at least a long time in the candidates' eyes, because they're anxious. So we like that we can do this on that night, tell you who won and how it's gonna go. So with that, I did bring, I don't know if any of you have always wondered like how the names end up on the ballot in a certain order. That is decided by the Secretary of State. They do a random alphabet drawing, and they do this, I believe it is it's roughly around 90 days before the election. So they do this, and all they do is pull a letter out of, I've never been there to see it, but let's say they pull a letter out of the hat. So if they pull the letter P first, whoever our candidate is with the last name of P would be first on the ballot. If you have two people with the last name, and I'll use ours, for instance, we had Paris and we had Paul. They're both PA and PA. So we had to go to the third letter. Was the U pulled first or was the R pulled first? And that would determine where they end up on the ballot. And it's not done by us, but by the Secretary of State, so that it stays completely impartial on that note. And I did bring for you the letter from the Secretary of State showing the April election, the letters that were drawn. And I also brought for you a calendar of events for the November 6th election coming up. And a lot of it is already passed, but the very next thing they will be doing will be on July 27th, which is a notice of possible appointment for the Water Replenishment District publication. So there are requirements all the way through this calendar for things you never even thought of just to get this November election going. So if I may, I will hand these to you, and I will open it up to questions, any questions you might have.
I do have a question when you get back to the podium, Jerry. What are the requirements for volunteers as poll workers?
As poll workers, they just need to be registered voters and live in LA County.
My next door neighbor, who qualifies as the over 75 crowd, has been a poll worker, and she indicated to me that it was too difficult for her because she said she was supposed to stand too much of the time. But I often see them sitting.
Yeah, we always make sure there's tables and chairs, and we encourage them to bring something to, keep them busy. So if she's had to stand, it might be that she's just helping people so much as they come in, she wants to stand and show and help them to the voting booth. I'm not sure, unless someone has designated her. If she's not the inspector, just the clerk, and the inspector has said, you're gonna do this. So, but no, they can stay seated unless they are asked to help at the polling booth. So, yeah.
Do you have any suggestions for how the city of Lancaster could generate more interest in the electoral process, get more people to the polls? It's always discouraging to me that there are plenty of people willing to complain, but not so many people willing to take another step.
I agree. And it's not just our city, it's nationwide. When it comes to a local election, unfortunately, voter turnout is very low. And this voter turnout for this last election was very disappointing. We didn't expect it to be very high because there wasn't really anything controversial. For instance, we didn't have any measures on the ballot to draw people out. 2 years ago, we had measures, and I believe we had 21.7% turnout. Still low. This time, 14.3% turnout. Out of 67,000 registered voters, 14,000 turned out. So it is disappointing. We try by the newspaper, radio. I don't know. I'm open to any suggestions to try to get more people involved, especially vote by mail. You know, you don't have to take time off your job. You don't have to, go to work earlier or anything. Vote by mail, and it's safe, it's secure, and it is only looked at by myself and my staff, and it's right there. And all the ballots have to be opened anyway eventually, so, you know, if we could get more people to vote by mail, it might help too. And that is the popular way to go. Most of our voting this last election, it was by mail. That surpassed how many people showed up at the polls. But 14% out of 67,000 registered voters, not so good. Yeah.
I have a question. What is the, we talk about people that go to the polls to vote. You talked about the poll workers. What's the demographic of the people that come out to vote, to actually vote in person?
But are you talking like age groups?
Yes,
and
yes,
all
yes, ma'am.
I really don't have that demographic. I don't have any studies on what the demographic is coming out there. My hunch tells me it's going to be the people who are, say, 50 and over.
Okay.
So getting the younger generation to come on out and vote, getting them excited to vote and be a part of the process is one of the challenges that we'll face. And because of the of all the technology, everyone's wanting, we should be able to vote online and we should be able to vote with our cell phones and all that. Could happen someday, but I don't see it happening right away because you got to make sure there's no voter fraud. So, but yeah, I would say it's probably 50 and over that are voting.
Thank you.
Just a little commentary. I think that there's a general cynicism amongst especially the younger people, especially when things are like the front page of today's paper. The assumption is that that is already locked down, that that election as far as the state assembly is locked down with the announcement of the mayor pro tem possibly changing. Now, as someone who votes and takes it seriously, a young person though might look at that and say, well, what's the point? They've already got this figured out. So there's an underlying subtlety that is being presented, I think, in the media that we need to be aware of. And somehow we need to be cautious of that because that is what message things like that is saying. That, well, why should we vote? This is already in place. So that's the appearance. And
Yeah.
so just a little commentary.
Yeah. Oh, and I agree. It you do hear the attitude of, why bother?
Exactly.
Why should I vote?
Yeah.
And your vote does count.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. It
Well,
does
I-
count.
yeah.
And we count every vote and we check every signature to make sure it's correct. And we're so proud of our process here, but boy, we would love to be working much later hours to take care of it all if we had
Right.
more voter turnout. Obviously we'd have to work a little bit longer, get more people in to help with it. But right now it's like, the mail comes in during the day. If we get 400 ballots in, we're able to process those during the day. But yeah, there is that attitude of why bother. And
Yeah, and it's
That's
sad. And I
tough.
think if people could hear you and hear what the process is that you witness, it would make a difference. Unfortunately, most communities don't have the ability to do a standalone election and probably
Right.
have it so defined. And so things are a little different. But what you're talking about needs to be known. It does. And I
Sure.
really appreciate your presenting that tonight because I certainly learned a lot.
absolutely, well, you're very welcome. And I did recently present to the Youth Commission. And they seemed very engaged. And they did ask questions like, how can we help? And really the main thing was, well, you're all about to turn 18. If you're not already 18, get your friends to register to vote. Get out there and vote. And just get involved and start reading up on the subjects and all of the issues that are going on. You don't have to be an expert in them, but just, have your ear to that a little bit. So they were very engaged in that.
I would just like to add that you're right, Madam Clerk. The election night, the local election night, is a rare and unique experience, and it's a pleasure to participate in it. And if more people knew how much fun that actually was, I think that would increase turnout. But thank you for doing that. It's just an exciting, fun time, and you have a lot to do with that, so I
We do,
appreciate
but
it.
our pleasure. And like I said, we love election time. We're always glad when it's over, don't get me wrong, but we do love election time. We love the busyness of it and getting it all ready and seeing it to the end.
I have another question. I consider myself fairly intelligent and fairly well informed, but those initiatives are always a mystery to me. And I confess that I usually turn to the summary that has been written by somebody and see who signed it. Where do those come from? And sometimes there is no summary pro or con, even though I'm certain there are people who are pro or con. Is there anything done to solicit those summaries from groups that are interested?
2 years ago, when we had 3 initiatives on our ballot. One was whether the mayor should be a 2-year or a 4-year term, whether we should be a charter city or not, and should we continue to have an invocation before our public meetings. People who wrote the pros for all of that were community leaders. They might have even been former or current council members. But I believe, I don't have them in front of me, but they were community leaders. They were former mayors or such. We advertised. We let people know this is now your chance to come in and review those. And if you are opposed, to write your opposition, to put in there. We received none, and we advertised often. And we encourage people, if you have any opposition to this, now is your time to come in. The impartial analysis is done by the city attorney, pursuant to the election code. And so he goes through and he reads each one of those and tries to be impartial and, and the pros and cons on each issue. So that's where they come from. More than one person could submit an argument in favor of something. However, if the legislative body is one of those that has submitted something in favor, they get first choice. They are selected first. So 2 years ago, I did have a citizen submit on a CD. He was also in favor, and I believe it had to do with the invocation. But he also understood that because former legislative body members had already submitted theirs would most likely be the one that would be in the sample ballot, and he understood. That was fine, but he wanted his in there anyway. He wanted to submit it to me. So that's where those come from. But you just got to generate people to either stand up and fight or stand up and, obviously, I guess by the way the measures passed, people were in favor of them. So.
Well, thank you so much. I know you took extra time out of your dinner hour after your work day to come and talk to us, and we really appreciate your contribution.
My pleasure. Anytime, my pleasure. I hope the rest of your evening is very pleasant and goes well. Thank you so much.
All right, and that was our general presentation. And the presentations that we invite from the community are televised. Well, actually, they're not televised. They're webernized. They're up on the web, so anybody who wants to see what the Tapestry Commission is doing toward diversity and inclusion of all citizens and residents, they can play those back. We do ask that you hold your presentations to 5 minutes wherever possible, and hopefully we'll have questions because there's not a ton that you can do in 5 minutes. We do have 3 presentations plus one from our own commissioner. I did not ask if anyone among you is a time crunch that you would like to go next so that you can take off. Okay, terrific. Then we'll just go in order that they arrived here. I'd like to invite Mike Bertel from Point Man to the dais. Mike has been one of the few people who responded immediately to my call. I found an ad in the AV Press, which he is excellent about ensuring his organization has calendar coverage, that talked about veteran services, and we're so interested to know what you do. Thanks so much, Mike.
Thank you. I'm a Vietnam veteran. My name is Mike Bertel, and basically we have an outpost here in Lancaster. It's called Point Man, and Point Man is a non-profit organization. and basically it's veterans helping veterans. The original Point Man was started in 1984 in Washington. There was a veteran who wanted to minister to Vietnam-era veterans, and from there it took off. And today it is an international ministry. Their headquarters right now is based in New York, in Springbrook, and so it's a large ministry now and very well-known organization. Point Man in the Antelope Valley started in 1991 by a guy named George Palermo. He was a veteran, and George has recently moved out of state, so I took over his position, and George, we still keep in contact, but I'm taking over, everything he did. He started a real good ministry. Should even look at my notes, Ken. A large number of the vets that come to our group are combat veterans, and we had kind of a saying, it takes one to know one. Most of the time, a combat veteran won't really get out and talk to anyone or express himself. We bottle things up. Myself, I was in Vietnam for a year. I had a lot of things happen that I bottled up. We came back on our own with a whole different attitude from the country. We were not heroes or anything, so we just clammed up and went on our way. Well, 20 years later, when the wheels started falling off, we found out, we had to go talk to somebody or get with somebody. Point Man was a group that I found right after George started it. I was there in 1992, and it helped me an awful lot. Today, I managed to get out to high schools and the college and talk to students who are taking history classes and are in that period, and so I can talk about it. And some of them ask, they would say, "Thank you for coming to visit us," and I go, "No, you don't realize that when we come out and talk to you, it really is a healing for us too." So it's a matter of getting out and talking. So Point Man is a way to help veterans spiritually, physically, mentally. And like I say, a lot of them that come to our group are combat veterans. And the person that can contact with the combat veteran the best is another combat veteran. And basically when you talk to a combat veteran, you know what's going on in his mind. Where when I came back and I tried to talk to my family or anybody else, there was just no contact. There was no rapport at all. So we just clammed up and didn't do anything, as far as that goes. Point Man is we meet every Tuesday night from 6:30 to 8 o'clock, and we meet at the Mental Health America building on Jackman and Sierra Highway. So anytime, it's open to any vets, so it's not just Vietnam veterans. We have Iraqi vets, Afghanistan vets, and they all come in. And we can tell right away when something's on their mind. When I used to go to my group, I sat there for 3 or 4 weeks, never said anything. And then finally some guy says, "Oh, I was in the 101st Airborne, and I was over in Cu Chi." And I just looked and I go, "Wow." And this load came off my shoulders, and I just started getting involved in them. And it took a long time, but I've come a heck of a long ways, and I still got a ways to go. But at least being in Point Man, being in charge of it, and also Point Man now are the guardians of the Antelope Valley Mobile Wall, the Vietnam Memorial. And so we take care of that. We get it out as often as we can. And our wall is, I don't know if you've seen it, it's been in Lancaster. We also went to Hesperia, Ridgecrest, and Bishop, and that's where we set it up. Unfortunately, we haven't had a request for this coming Veterans Day, but we're hoping that someone will come up and ask for it. It takes a lot of work and about 5 months preparation just to put the wall up. So that's another part of our group, and we have a another organization or another board that meets once a month for the wall, besides our point man that meets once every week. So that's pretty much in a nutshell, if you have any questions.
Could you say a little more about the mobile wall?
The mobile wall was a thought from the Palmdale Playhouse. They were putting on a play called A Piece of My Heart, which was a story about 4 women in Vietnam. And when they were working on this, it was the first play, I think it was in '97, was such a hit that they decided to do it again and do an encore. And they thought, well, shoot, it'd be nice to have the wall come out from, traveling wall, and at the same time we're doing the play. Well, 1, it was very expensive, and 2, most of the traveling walls are probably about a year and a half away to even get one. So somebody had a bright idea to say, well, let's just build our own wall. And they sat down and scribbled things out, tried to get up a cost and so forth, and they came up with around $60,000. They worked on it after the play for probably 6 months or so, and they sat down and go, we've collected a few $1,000s. It's going to take a long time. We are a panel that works in the Playhouse. I'm not sure how to do this, where to start. What do you want to do, guys? They called in a couple of us to help with the technical aspect of the play, and they said, your guys are vets. What do you want to do? One guy says, well, it's really, it'd be nice, but if the heart isn't into it, then, we can just turn the money over to the veterans home or give it back to the people who donated it. Well, then they turned to me and said, what do you think? And I said, well, you've worked on it all this much. You've raised a few $1,000s, and it'd be really, a kind of a bad thing to, just drop it right now. I mean, it would mean a lot. And several people looked at me and go, I don't believe you said that. So that's kind of where it took off. We started with press releases and so forth. From that point, it took us 5 years and raised over $100,000. Signs and Design built our panels, and it's one of the finest replicas that is out on the, out right now. It's up on Facebook and YouTube. There's pictures there of when we had it set up at Lancaster High School. And a couple of my friends from back east who I was in the 101st Airborne with saw it. And immediately they wrote back and said, this is phenomenal. This is the best wall I've ever seen. So we're really proud of that. And we're really proud of one of our biggest donors was grade school kids at the time. They raised around $20,000 for us in pennies and coins. And that was a lot of work to get rid of that. So we couldn't find a bank that would take it. So it was, but now it's just, we really, actually we woke up a sleeping giant. It's a lot of work, but it's, we're proud of it wherever we go. Myself, I have probably about 30 guys on the wall that I was with. So it's a lot of work setting it up. We get to the location, we fix it all up. Sometimes I can walk up to it, and other times I'll walk up there and I gotta wait. So it's a tough deal, but it's in my heart, it's for my friends. They died. They are not putting up with post-traumatic stress and living with the pain that we are, but I think they would want us to live for them, and that's what we're doing.
No, Mike, I just want to say thank you for what you do.
No, you're welcome.
Definitely.
Okay,
Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. I am just constantly amazed at the extent of commitment from individuals here and the programs that they have put together, blood, sweat, and tears, just so that people can feel acknowledged and assisted. Okay, next on our agenda, Homes for Heroes, Joy Marie Murphy. I met Joy at the Home Expo at the AV Fairgrounds this spring and thought, heroes, well, we certainly have plenty of those, and she has a special program for us. Go ahead.
Anyway, good evening. Thank you for inviting us to partake in this and provide information of who we are. I'm Joy Murphy, and I am the Realtor affiliate that represents the Antelope Valley chapter for the Homes for Heroes. Homes for Heroes was established in the year 2012, shortly right after 9/11, and it was originally based in the state of Minnesota, where a small group of people, business owners, decided to network and find a way of how to create support and rebate programs for their local heroes, you know, such as their first responders. At the time, it was firefighters, police officers, and they decided to incorporate and include, in addition, the military and the nurses and the doctors, and even your healthcare providers and even teachers. So what they did was created this network all across the nation after 2002, and they hand select and interview certain realtors and lenders to work in certain areas. And currently in the state of California, we have roughly about 60 realtor affiliates that represent the Homes for Heroes network. I am the only realtor that represents the Antelope Valley, and Dean Henderson is the lender that represents the Antelope Valley. And what we do is we create and provide enormous amount of rebates that we can give to the hero when they are purchasing a home or selling a home, and they're real rebates that they can use towards their purchase, or it would be refund back when they're selling a home through our end of commissions or fees that we eliminate to help the hero. And it's our way of basically giving back to the heroes, because they give so much to the people in their community and their country. So let's say, for instance, we have a firefighter who wants to buy a home for $150,000. The lender rebate that they would receive based on that sales price would be roughly about $3,245 on the lending side. All of their lender fees are going to be waived, so they're not charged the lender fees based on that sales price. And where I come in at, I will give 25% of my gross commission back to the hero that they can apply towards closing costs. And putting that all together is quite a bit of money, and that's just based on the sales price of $150,000. It can go up even further based on what sales price that they're purchasing or even selling. And and if they're selling a home, they can also use and apply the rebates when they purchase a home elsewhere, if they were to do drop transfer, you know, so they can have multiple rebates, not only on the selling a home, but also purchasing a home. And the continued discounts goes on, because we also have other businesses in our network that we're growing and adding on to provide extra discounts to our heroes, such as, like, if they're purchasing home, we have other affiliates that work with us in the transaction, such as a homeowner's insurance policy. We give discounts for that. Other services, if they want to have, like, such as putting an alarm system in their home, they have discounts. The discounts continue. Carpet services, carpet installation. So they will receive an enormous amount of rebates or discounts when they're purchasing a home or selling a home. And we've established our Homes for Heroes here. It's fairly new. We came here, we were asked actually, and honored to be part of this in January of this year, so it's fairly new. So we just started and hope to grow this and get this out there and let all of our firefighters, police officers, nurses, doctors, teachers, and of course all of our veterans, active or retired, for all the things that they have done, you know, for us, and we would most certainly love to give back. It's our way of saying thank you.
Are you with a particular realty agency?
I am with a particular, I work with Keller Williams in Palmdale, and I represent the entire Antelope Valley, Palmdale, Lancaster. I even go out to Rosemont and even North Edwards, because I want to make sure I'm capturing all of the veterans in Edwards Air Force Base, because we have a very large base of military out here and a lot of, aerospace programs, so.
Are all Homes for Heroes Keller Williams?
No, they come from different companies, and whoever wants to decide to join it, as long as the location is available, because we're given a specific parameter of where we work. Right now, I currently am the only realtor that represents the Antelope Valley. If this happens to grow, they might add another realtor from a different company. It's not designated to just Keller Williams. It's open to other franchise owners, like such as Century 21 or Remax. So any broker, franchise, or even small broker owner can join this. Not just the realtors, but also on the lender side.
And you brought with you Dean Henderson, he's your
Yes,
lender?
yes.
And what company is Mr. Henderson with?
Financial Independence Mortgage.
Say again?
Financial Independence Mortgage.
And now, is this a team mortgage lender situation with you? Or do you work with a number of different lenders? How does that work?
Well, what it is we work together to incorporate the maximum amount of benefits and rebates that we can give to the hero. So having us be registered and working this area, not any realtor can give this. They actually have to be part of the Homes for Heroes network. We have to join and be members in order to give back to that particular hero. For instance, us two will be able to provide that maximum amount of rebate to the borrower, to the hero, you know. So say for instance, somebody from, you know, another real estate company wants to actually another buyer is working with another realtor from a real estate company but is interested in the Homes for Hero network rebate. They not necessarily can provide and honor that rebate unless they actually join the program and see if it's available, you know, for them to work that area, you know, or if it's open to have another realtor join that area. So it is selective, and it is based on, you know, census and population. So if this continues to grow and say, for instance, I am like overwhelmed and inundated with a whole bunch of heroes buying and selling houses, then of course we'll have to expand and grow or have other people join the network and be part of the Homes for Heroes network.
I have a question, Joy. Joy, I'm a little confused as to what constitutes a hero, because you mentioned teachers and while they're heroes, no doubt. So it's not just exclusive to military veterans.
It's not.
So
We have your first responders, your firefighters, police officers, your medics. Those are heroes. They consider those heroes. Your medical staff, nurses, doctors, even, you know, your physical therapists, people who work for FEMA, people who, you know, who work in Red Cross, all of those types of businesses that help people in their community.
okay.
Yeah, it actually kind
It's
of
broad.
goes on.
It's-
Yeah,
it's very
pretty
broad.
And
Okay.
they add more. I'm seeing that they're adding people who work in churches, you know, churches such as helping their community. I'm seeing that they're adding that to the network too, for people who want to, you know, provide those kind of rebates to people like that who are also helping in different ways to the community.
Like Tapestry commissioners that assist the community. I'm just saying.
Yeah. It's definitely, and you know, we can make that decision if we wanted to honor a rebate to a particular person. Yeah.
You mentioned teachers.
They have teachers on here as part of the hero.
Well, we have teachers. So, lots of teachers, lots of military.
Yeah. We've met quite a bit of them at the fairgrounds. It was quite surprising, different types of people that we met, and it's very exciting actually, because this is the biggest rebate program that anyone can receive as a hero throughout the entire United States. There are different rebate programs out there for such as for military, for instance. USAA offers a rebate program to their retired veterans or even active duty military families. But by far, ours is so much bigger and so much broader. It's not just with the real estate side, it's the lending side, and then it's all of the other other affiliates that are involved in the process of buying or selling a home, because there's approximately 15 to 20 people that have in different fields of business that actually are working in one escrow to get that one job done and get that home closed and sold to to that buyer or seller. So it's very broad, and it seems like the list goes on when they actually go through the whole process of buying or selling a home.
Well, it's just a shame you didn't know,
Thank you.
Commissioner Marshall. He just purchased a home 6 months ago,
Right.
and he's now a superintendent, who was a teacher.
Right.
Wow.
Next time.
Well, you can always call us when you're ready to sell and buy, or investment properties, or family members. We love referrals, you know.
Any other questions? All right, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you
in.
for having us. Thank you.
Okay. All right, would you introduce?
Yes,
yourself?
next up, we have a presentation on CERT, and Captain Plagart, is that how you say it?
Good evening, it's Polgar,
Polgard, thank you, sir.
P-O-L-G-A-R. Thank you. I'm here to talk about the Community Emergency Response Team, otherwise known as CERT. CERT's an acronym. It's actually started in 1985 by the Los Angeles City Fire Department, who realized that in the event of a sudden natural disaster, specifically an earthquake, that all the firefighters that are on duty at that particular time would be overwhelmed in a natural disaster. So we actually have that same situation here today in the Antelope Valley. Specifically, let's say in an area from Agua Dulce north to the Los Angeles County line at Avenue A, and from Lake Los Angeles out towards Neenac. We have 21 fire stations that cover that geographical area, serving a population of about 450,000 people. If you did the math, it would take those 21 fire stations to service that 450,000 people if there was a major disaster about 3 or 4 weeks. So the answer to the question of what does CERT do, CERT provides education for our citizens to teach them to be self-reliant in that 3 or 4 day period between the time that the disaster strikes and the time that first help arrives. And we do that in a very systematic way. We use a FEMA-based curriculum, and which was picked up by the Department of Homeland Security after the 9/11 incidents. And so far in the Antelope Valley, about 4,000 people have taken the training. Personally, I've taught 102 classes. I have about 4,000 people under my belt. People start being a little overwhelmed by the fact that you're going to teach them how to take care of themselves. They think, well, firefighters have taken a whole career, law enforcement have taken a whole career in order to learn disaster preparedness. But we do it in 20 hours, touching the high points of many different parts of the curriculum. Disaster preparedness, how to make a family kit, how to put a family plan together, what to do when your kids are separated from parents. We go into fire extinguisher training. Most people see fire extinguishers hanging on the wall and they have no idea what comes out of that fire extinguisher, how to make it work, and we actually take that whole mystery out of how to operate a fire extinguisher and have them put out a fire in a fire pan. We teach them how to put band-aids on boo-boos, how to do splinting and bandaging, how to do search and rescue, how to shut off the gas, water, and electricity. All of those things, we don't need a fire truck. We don't need a paramedic to do after disaster. Our job as firefighters and as law enforcement are going to be going to those major incidents. A call at a single-family residence, if there was an 8.5 earthquake right now, would be a low priority call for us. So we don't need professionals to shut off gas, water, and electricity, and to do those minor things. So we empower those people to take care of themselves. The Los Angeles County Fire Department does that for free. We do that about 6 times a year out here in the Antelope Valley, and we do it about 30 or 40 times department-wide. We're actually going to be presenting a class this coming Saturday, and we do this in many areas in the Antelope Valley. We just happen to be doing it at Antelope Valley Hospital, where I just came back from a meeting where we're looking at the Desert Christian Church, or the Desert Vineyard, excuse me. We've done it at the Highlands Church, and we're using a wide variety of resources and facilities in order to accomplish this. What does CERT do for the community? Well, it provides that bridge between paid professional responders and those individuals that just want the information on how to be prepared. For the city of Lancaster, we've staffed a booth at the Poppy Festival, handing out hundreds of disaster preparedness booklets, once again empowering passerbys just as we're giving them that information, how to take care of themselves. We allow them the opportunity to go to our website, which is antelopevalleycert.com, and they can find out about our classes and monthly meetings. We've attended Boulevard events and Fallen Heroes events at Jethawk Stadium. We actually have people that serve on the Lancaster West Rotary, which has been very instrumental in providing us resources, basically radios that we can communicate from one end of the valley to the next. So we've established a 501c3 nonprofit organization to help serve the community. We have people that are in the community right now while our firefighters are in the station and while we're here presenting this information to the public. Our CERT trained individuals are out there ready to serve. 4,000 people is a heck of an army out there, and they're going to be out there in the event of a major disaster. We don't draw any lines on who can take the class. Personally, I've taught somebody as young as 11 and as old as 88. We take people that have a variety of disabilities. We've even offered to do a class for Hispanic or Spanish speakers, as well as people that are deaf. Later this year, we're going to be working with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and doing a teen CERT class. So we're going to empower our high school aged kids, and we're going to teach them not only a career path, but how to take care of themselves. And we learn those skills while they're young so they don't become a burden to our society. You know, I've been in the fire service almost 29 years, and what I'm beginning to see in our society here in the United States frightens me a little bit, in that we have a lot of people that are depending more and more on the government. I'm not going to get in a political discussion here, but we have less and less people that, because of their finances, they're less able to take care of themselves now than they were before. We have less people that are prepared for disaster, that 3 days of food and water and those types of supplies because of our economic problems. Folks, our government isn't going to be there. So these classes teach them how to take care of themselves, and we do it for free. Any questions?
Captain, I'd just like to say, you helped my family quite a bit at a booth at the Poppy Festival. My 9 and 11-year-old were able to learn how to turn off the gas and the electricity, and they maintain that knowledge and feel much more confident about disaster preparedness from 10 minutes in your booth. So I imagine what 20 hours of your class would do for someone. It must be amazing. I've been intending to take it. It says here I have, but I've only visited your booth. So
Well, hopefully they're not shutting off your gas at home, but in the event that you're here and there is a disaster, the peace and security of knowing that your family knows how to do that
Right.
Is just invaluable.
exactly.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Certainly.
Have you expanded this program to local schools or different agencies?
Yes, we've reached out in just about every possible way. We've reached out to the Red Cross, the school districts. We've invited the school district, school nurses, and teachers to take these classes. Most teachers know how to do CPR, but we wanted to expand that. And we've taken it down to those schools. We've invited them. We send out the school districts emails and letting them know when we're offering those classes. And this class, that's 3 Saturdays in a row. It's during the summertime. So I think a lot of the teachers have taken off, but we've reached out to the cities of Lancaster and Palmdale to get our elected staff members trained in this valuable training.
My 2 youngest sons are certified, probably under your tutelage, I would imagine.
Could be.
Have you reached out to the AV preppers?
The AV Preppers, as far as we know, is a fairly new organization.
It is?
We're staying the course with FEMA.
Okay.
I want to be very careful about which direction we head. CERT is a big ship with a small rudder, and I want to make sure that we're not going down any particular path that would, take us in the wrong direction. I think that the preppers have a good heart. I just want to make sure that we're staying the course of what the government wants us to do, and staying the FEMA protocols for this education and this training that we're doing out here.
Okay. Just curious.
You said that you've trained 4,000 people, but then you said that there are 450,000 people in your area. Now, I went to law school. They said there'd be no more math, but I think that's 1%. Is there any ID these people have when we're all running screaming into the street? Will they be wearing like orange flags and saying, "I know what to do," or?
Nothing as dramatic as that. Most of our CERT trained individuals are very mellow individuals, are very mellow people. They come from a variety of backgrounds. We've had people that are homeless that have taken the CERT training, as well as very successful business people. Those people that have taken the class, we've given them a backpack. It's a green backpack. It says CERT on it. They've got a CERT green vest, and they've got a CERT green helmet. We've established an organization where we have what we call area commanders, team captains, and squad leaders. And that allows us a command staff, if you will, so that in the event of a major disaster, the squad leaders report to the team captains. The team captains hold monthly meetings. We actually hold one right here in the city of Lancaster at the YMCA building, and that's on our AntelopeValleyCert.com website. And those folks report to area commanders. In the event of a major disaster, we're going to have an area commander that's going to be using those radios that were given to us by the Lancaster West Rotary and communicating things across the city. We are reaching out in a multitude of areas. We are expanding. We're waiting for some finalization of an actual CERT operational protocols. And we are looking at every possible angle for collecting of funds and those types of things in order to sustain our organization. Did that answer your question?
Yes, they'll be wearing green helmets and backpacks.
Yes.
And it'll say CERT on them.
Yes, long answer, or a long answer to a short question. Yes,
Is
ma'am.
there a roster so I can know if they're on my street?
Yes, ma'am. We have actually the folks that work here in the city of Lancaster for the CERT organization. We actually have all of our CERT trained individuals. If they wanted to, we actually have them on a map. We have a mapping program, and they're dots on a map. We actually have supply bins, which the city of Lancaster has been very proactive in allowing churches the opportunity to have storage bins on their sites for the storage of supplies, because we can have all the education we want, but if we don't have supplies, if we don't have medical supplies on hand, if we don't have generators and lights and heaters or fans, millions of people were just hit with a disaster on the east coast of the United States, and that was a windstorm that was not predicted. And they were without electricity for long periods of time. So, yes, we are in the process of working on a variety of things right now to make sure that this community is disaster prepared.
What is your current source of funding?
Well, we've got political donations from private people that just say, hey, I'd like to donate $100 into your organization. We've gotten some input from car dealerships out here in the Antelope Valley. And the Lancaster West Rotary has been very proactive about giving us money through their yearly auction.
I was wondering, more than the teachers and staff at high schools or the schools, is there a way to reach out to like the AVID program or the ROTC to get those kids interested in this program? I mean, I've never heard of this program. I think it's fabulous. I'd love to have my 3 teens go through it. But through the schools, so then they get hours, and and I think once you get started with the kids, maybe the teachers will fall in line.
The Palmdale School District has been very proactive. We've actually had our CERT trained individuals that have gone there and they've watched their mock disasters. We've reached out just about as much as we can with the resources that we have. Everybody that's involved with the CERT program is a volunteer. I volunteer thousands of hours each and every year into this organization. And we offer all of these types of things, and we're not opposed to anything that we can start increasing the knowledge, our knowledge base with kids that are interested would be a wonderful program. That might be a good outreach.
And do you have more than just Saturdays for the training?
We have weekly meetings in some cities. We have monthly meetings in some cities, and all of this stuff is posted on the website. This particular class just happens to be 3 Saturdays in a row. At the Vineyard Church, we're looking at possibly doing a Monday and Tuesday night class, which would be 7 Monday and Tuesday cycles, if you will, for that total of 20 hours. So we operate these classes and we offer these classes on a wide variety of schedules. So somebody says, hey, I can't make Saturday class, but I can make weeknight evening classes. And so we try to rotate those around.
And would you like to give us your website for the record?
Yes, thank you. It's AntelopeValleyCert.com. And it has all of our information, when the next class is, when the monthly meetings are, as well as disaster preparedness information and various links related to disaster preparedness.
Does it also show which one of my neighbors is my CERT captain?
No, we would give that information out once you become a CERT member, and you can look on the map and see where other CERT trained individuals are. We try to keep that not secret away from anybody, but we want to protect everybody's privacy. We're very sensitive to that.
Thank you so much for coming. It sounds like a wonderful program and just an amazing amount of contribution of volunteer hours, and we know how that is. Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you.
Chair Dell,
Yeah.
I'd like to add that our public safety staff is working very closely with the CERT staff and is very interested in, over the next year, to get them working with the neighborhood watch groups. And our hope is to have a CERT certified person in every single neighborhood in Lancaster.
And the public safety administrator office next to yours would respond positively to a gift basket if I would like a map. Thank you. Okay. All right, next a presentation from our own, and I'll leave it to Commissioner Paul whether he would like to go to the dais as our staff brings up the presentation, or if we would watch from here on the Human Accountability Project. And I can tell you from my experience from Commissioner Paul that he has thought about the Human Accountability Project to every corner and really believes that the way for each of us to improve our own worlds is to follow the rules, I believe is how you could put it.
The rules of proper conduct, if you will, self-rewarding behavior that enhances us all. I would like to tell everyone assembled that I presented a part of the Human Accountability Project today at the Criminal Justice Commission. It was exciting to be put on the agenda to speak. And tonight, I just want to touch on that presentation. Basically, what I'm looking for is us to get to the core of the problem. That is always what interests me. And I'm not going to go very far with this, but I opened my remarks this morning with my favorite quote from Einstein, and he says, "There is only one question: is the universe friendly?" And that's the way that people learn to love and respect the law. As far as I'm concerned, that's the way that I learned to love and respect the law, through self-sufficiency and then experiencing the rewards of being part of a greater community. And that transcends creed and political affiliation. Just trying to be a better person and be of service is what the project is about. And it also has to do with traffic enforcement and the small act of driving courteously in public. If you just commit to being a better person and driving a little more courteously, there's a benefit to the world from that small thing, and people start to feel the rewards of that positive behavior. But we're working, I'm trying to get the Sheriff's Department to go along with this. I've been trying to do this for about 7 years, so perhaps the time has come, perhaps there was headway made today, but at some other time we pursue this further. This ties into an anti-bullying program this commission is considering, and it just basically ties into economics of our valley, traffic control, just common sense ways to tie a bunch of loose ends together to make us all better and more prosperous. So that's what it's about, but it's an unfolding process, and we'll wait and see what the response from the Sheriff's Department is again. So that's where I'm at.
Staff Gamlowski, are we going to be able to see this?
It looks like it's not posted yet if you're looking at today's.
Oh, no, and that's okay. You don't have to issue anything at this point. It will not disappoint me.
Okay.
I was interested in having us play for the benefit of our record, as well as for our attendees, as well as for us, the neighborhood vitalization program presentation.
I
No?
believe it is the Criminal Justice Commission presentation from 2 months ago. That's the one that I had originally asked for us to see, because I discussed the nature of the problem. They had been considering the loss of the traffic court and how they're going to deal with all these things. And But Brenda, it's okay.
Chair, if you can move to the next item, I'll search for this and get it up and let you know when it's ready.
All right, I believe it was a criminal justice hearing the week previous to our our open meeting on May 9th, if that helps.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. We have a lot of other things on the agenda, but we probably won't be able to drive through them. I did want to talk about our community presentations. Commissioner Castagnon indicated that Wednesday, September 12th, that we can present at a luncheon for 30 to 40 minutes at Lancaster Chamber of Commerce. If you have your calendars out, I'd like to get some tentative yeses for who might be available for a lunchtime.
Okay.
Okay, so Mark is a tentative yes. September 12th, yes, it's a Wednesday. David? Lunch. David would be available, Janine? Okay. And you can as well? Okay, great. We will nail that down a little closer so that we don't descend upon them with 4 of us, but that's great that we've got that. He has not yet had a response from Knights of Columbus or the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. That's not true. Rod Venegas from the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce told him that they would select a date after the next board meeting. He just sent me a text. So that's still pending. Commissioner Marshall, did Kiwanis choose a particular Monday night they would like us to come?
When you give me a night, pretty much we make the program, it's pretty easy to get on the agenda, so whenever we can set one up, as long as it's a conflict with one of my school board meetings,
Okay,
we can do it.
all right,
That's
well,
normally the second and fourth Monday of the month, so the alternate was like first and third would work for us.
so first and third, so we're talking about assuming that they had an opening. The 16th, next Monday, probably not. The 30th, well, that's the 5th Monday.
Okay, that would be fine.
So
30th.
first, third, and 5th.
Right.
And then in August, it would be the 6th and the 20th.
Correct. Why don't we shoot for the 30th? That may be,
Are there people available to do the presentation on Monday, the 30th?
evening. It's in the evening. You arrive at 6:30, dinner starts there, and then at 7 o'clock the presentation starts. And normally we're out about 8 o'clock
That's at the Greenhouse Cafe.
at the Greenhouse Cafe. Yes.
That's not a good night for me. Does somebody else want to make a commitment, or shall we pass?
We pay for your lunch as well, or your dinner.
Fortunately, money's not the issue today. I am not available on a Monday night until the 10th of September. For which Monday? Okay. Yes. So Commissioner Marshall will attempt to lock in Commissioner Militello to do the presentation on July 30th. Janine, if you could connect with Brenda with plenty of time in advance so that Brenda can assist you with the transportation of the equipment. And maybe you could get information from Commissioner Marshall about who to make arrangements for setup.
Right. We'll
Great.
start.
Super. One down. 7:30. Commissioner Marshall, a request from the Black Chamber of Commerce to do a presentation?
Yes, I'm still it's pending in terms of getting a response as far as when their meetings are,
Okay,
and they have lunch meetings as well. So
okay. All right, so we'll address that at the next meeting. Commissioner Paul, the Elks.
Yes, I would like to report that there is some progress on all these 3, but nothing to report at this time.
Do you have information yet about the times that they actually have meetings with presentations, days or evenings, days of the week, anything like that yet?
I have their general meeting times, yes.
Do you have that with you, and I'll get that into the minutes?
No, I don't have that with me.
Okay. Commissioner Komori is showing off. She's passing out her assigned homework. A representative from Tapestry will be given 3 to 5 minutes at the Quartz Hill Chamber of Commerce on August 1st, which is a Wednesday, at 11:30 to explain what Tapestry is about. Lunch is $25, and you mail a letter of explanation. We actually have a 9-minute presentation, and I'm thinking perhaps they're not desperate enough for us quite yet.
Here's the issue. They have a speaker for that day. And so they were just giving us a forum. Now, if we need longer, we're going to have to go at another time. He just tossed out he'd let us talk for 3 to 5 minutes this month, or this next meeting. So it's up to you guys, what you want to do.
How often do they meet?
Once a month.
So their next meeting would be September 5th?
Yes, but I don't know when their next available slots would be that would give us more time. I don't know how far out they're booked on their speakers.
All right, well, can I have commissioners respond to whether or not they would be available on Wednesday at 11:30 on September 5th and on October 3rd, so that Commissioner Komori can get back to them?
So we don't want to take a 3 to 5 minute slot this next one. Here's my thing. They're going to give us 3 to 5, so take 8 to 9. Come on. I'm just saying.
September 5th and October 3rd are the first Mondays of first Wednesdays of each month. 11:30 a.m.
Well, I will not know until I have to crash class. If I don't get it, I'm available. If I do get it, I'm not.
All right, so Commissioner Militello is a maybe for September 5th and October 3rd.
Yes. I'm sorry. I was looking at here.
Are you available?
I'll be available. It's 4 enough in advance.
So,
What I need clarity on, though, is we're not going to do the August 1st one.
I just think that 3 to 5 minutes is not enough for us to even figure out where we're sitting.
Okay. Because I need to call and let them know.
Yes. We appreciate the offer, but we'd really like to do the full presentation without jamming up their agenda,
Okay.
if that's an option.
Okay.
And Commissioner Paul, would you be available on a September 5th or October 3rd?
Tentatively, yes.
Okay.
It's 4 enough in advance.
Okay, good. All right, and then the Acton Lions Club, we're scheduled for 20 minutes in August at 7 p.m., either the first or third Wednesdays.
Yeah, we just don't know. I will know on Monday which of those Wednesdays we'll be speaking, but it'll be the 1st or the 3rd in August.
I'm unavailable either of those 2 nights. Anyone else?
I can tentatively be available. Yeah.
Okay, so tentative from Commissioner Marshall
Yes.
And me, or me, whatever.
and maybe Janine.
I can-
Maybe I.
Okay, and Janine, that depends for you on whether or not you have homework or,
No, I don't start school until the 20th. It depends on softball, as always.
okay. And for you, Vivian?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay, so a yes from Vivian, a maybe from Mark and Janine and David? You don't really like nights, huh? Okay, so we'll pass on evenings for Commissioner Paul. All right, Palmdale Lions Club. She's waiting for a date. They meet the 2nd and 4th Wednesday at the Chimboli Community Center in Palmdale. Is that day or evening?
Evening, 7 p.m.
All right. And we meet the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays as well.
So, now that takes us a little sidewinded, if you'd like. I am not going to be here on the 8th, and we spoke about canceling for the 8th. If they are interested in having us for the 8th, you guys don't have a meeting and could do that instead.
Right.
So we are canceling the 8th?
Unless someone has a burning desire to run a working meeting without me, which you're more than welcome to do.
No.
Oh, it's canceled.
Okay, so, Commissioner Komori, could you ask them whether they would like to take advantage of our vacation day on August 8th?
I'll see what I can find out.
Great. And if so, who would like to do that?
I'll go.
All right. Janine Militello, and that's an evening, I'm sorry, did you say it was 6:30? 7 p.m. Okay. All right. And then the next thing on your agenda is for farther down. Good. All right, great. Good job. Thank you. The Junior Assistance League,
I don't have any feedback.
were you able to locate them?
Yes and no.
Okay, so that will mark that pending, and we have information from the Acton and the Quartz Hill Lions and the Quartz Hill Chamber. Super. All right, Commissioner Mohammed is absent. She provided no information about the Black Masons. Commissioner Militello, American Legion.
They meet second and fourth Wednesdays, but I have not heard back from them yet.
Would you know whether that's day or evening?
Nights, I'm sorry, nights. Yeah, they meet
Nights,
nights.
okay, so again, that's an issue for the present. However, if you speak to them, you might ask them about August 8th in the event that the Acton Lions Club, I'm sorry, the Palmdale Lions Club is not interested or able to make that time available. Super. I spoke to Rotary, Steve Angerbrandt. I'll spell that for our staff, Angebranddt. He has taken over the programming for Rotary along with another person, and I sent him an email. He indicated it's Mondays at lunchtime. They'd like to have as much as 20 minutes. He did not give us a particular date because they have to put their heads together. But just so I know, when I hear back from them, is there someone available for a Monday lunchtime 20-minute presentation in July or August?
I would be glad.
All right, David, Commissioner Paul said he can do it. Anybody for a backup in case something comes up? No?
Sure. I'll do it.
Okay.
Well, it's in advance.
And Commissioner Marshall will do backup. Terrific. All right, well, it looks like we're off and running on that. All right, we still have time. I'll move on to the neighbor-to-neighbor mediation project.
Chair Dell,
Yes, ma'am.
I
I'm
do have
sorry.
the video up. if you'd
Terrific.
like.
Thank you. Thank you for stopping me.
Chairman and Commissioners, good morning. I always learn a lot when I come here today. Tonight we're going to have our open meeting of the Tapestry Human Relations Commission here in the chamber. We're working on the same things. We're working on peer-to-peer mediation, expungement, and a forum for cultural diversity, but we're also working on bullying. And Commissioner, Chairman, it may be the time for you to put me on the agenda next time I'm asking to present my Human Accountability Project. I came up with this years ago because I'm always trying to figure out how to solve the problem, and so many things I heard today are part of that problem. Jim, you're absolutely right. It's not the kids. And the young lady that spoke about the intelligence of the children and their insights was absolutely right. It's not the kids' fault. You know, I think a lot of these problems we have in human societies are just evolutionary artifacts. If you look at chimp societies, it's in their best interest to look to the leaders to see what they're doing. That's why we have People Magazine and Us Magazine, because we always want to see what the cool people are doing. There's also a lot of savagery in chimp societies, a lot more of violence, and that's what separates us, because the human intellect and refinement is what gets us over those brutal tendencies. So we have to tell the kids the truth. I was saddened to watch this thing on This Week about the Naval Academy in West Point, women being raped, and cadets walking around thinking it's okay to call women dubs, dumb, ugly bitches. And that's endemic in the culture, but it's not a man-woman thing. MacArthur tried to straighten out West Point. They used to have cadets in hazing rituals squat naked over bayonets stuck to a helmet, and if they fell down, they'd impale themselves. This is the kind of stuff we do. This is the kind of stuff that we need to tell children is not right and model it. So that's what the Human Compatibility Project is about. The first part of it is a traffic components portion, where we simply calculate the rate of traffic enforcement success. And this gets kids thinking about their driving habits, how to drive more responsibly. You know, we can employ these tactics to help with the youth driving court. There's a lot of aspects in this that go to that. And just getting people out and aware that, you know, civility, if you just drive better, there's an aspect of civility and refinement there that elevates us. And these are the little things we have to find to help people improve. But if we don't want to admit and own up to our own inadequacies as adults, the children are never going to take us seriously. So it's a great program. It has a financial component, an economic component. It's really a good program. And if you want to get kids interested in traffic, let them calculate the rate of traffic enforcement success. That's the ticket. I'd like to talk more about it. Thank you.
And our second speaker card, Nicole.
Okay. All right, so I am really interested in knowing more about the bones of this. The presentation you did was it this morning?
Yes.
Does it include more of the mechanics of how such a program would be implemented and the benefits?
You know, 8th and 9th graders, you can teach them math skills. I have a formula called Bluff's theorem. I named it in honor of the traffic sergeant that was first assigned to me by the captain to go over this. And there were a lot of issues back then about responsibility of citizens, you know, if they're involved in traffic enforcement or even traffic monitoring, what the liabilities are. And so, but the component of the theorem is based on two parts. Number one, you calculate the rate of traffic enforcement success. Who gets away, and that speaks to fairness and consistency, because nothing's more aggravating than getting a ticket and doing a minor thing and watching guys go crazy all the time. You know, it's kind of hit or miss. The police do the best they can, but we have technology now that needs to come online to guide traffic flow and would also prevent drunk drivers and be able to shut off cars via high-speed chases. This is all the future. It's all coming, but the little act of driving more considerately and building a matrix of the driving component helps kids learn project management and all sorts of mathematical skills. The other part has to do with more philosophical calculation. You know, an actuarial table won't tell you the true worth of an individual, because if someone loses their life to a drunk driver, it's much more than their life lost. It's the possibility of their life and touching other lives. And it's approximately $250 billion a year is spent in our country just on repairing collision damage to automobiles. There's $1 trillion in savings a year to be extracted if we just drive safer. And but changing the public's mind about this, they think it's Big Brother. Years ago when I put this together, I was interested in getting ahead of these privacy issues, and now people are worried about being tracked on their cell phones, and there's consortiums growing that are going to own your personal data and then sell it back to you as a service. So all these privacy issues, you know, there are tremendous benefits to an eventual electronic system, a national system of traffic enforcement, not the least of which is to sell it to the Indians and the Chinese before we have to buy it from them. So we have a lot of technical people in this valley, and these are all things that come together with the support of the sheriff. IBM could help pioneer some of these programs that just put a model in our town of how some of these things might work. This is a long road, but I'll tell you what, you will have a lot of people driving more safely when their kids are in the back seat of the car tomorrow, computating how many times they use their turn signal or come to a full stop, and then put that against the rate of citations that the police are actually allowed to do. And Americans don't like low percentages or bad scores, and it's an abysmal score if you even do any mental calculations. But so the entire thing has some physical components, but there's a lot of thought, experiment type of work that'll need to be put into the second half of Bluff's theorem, calculating what it actually costs on both ends to society not to do this one simple thing of controlling traffic the way we actually have the possibility to do. So I have copies of this, and I hope you have all read it for some of the finer details, but I need a school, I need the sheriff to go along with it, and I need some kids to get out there and build some matrices of traffic rules. And from there, the attention and publicity. You know, when I started this, I dreamed of moving along with greater success. I wanted to be able to sit in Arnold's tent and smoke a cigar with him as we received our award for doing a great thing, you know. So that chance has passed, but I know the future involves some sensible way to control traffic, and we have to start talking about that and get used to having our information be stored and recorded. You know, I would rather have my car be able to be on a network than my phone. So, you know, these are the human issues that are all involved in there, and I can't say for sure how it all unfolds, but I know how it starts by having the sheriff say, you know what, yeah, it's terrible the way we enforce traffic. It costs us a lot not to do it, but this is what we're allowed to do, and start brainstorming these things, and that gets a dialogue going that no one can disagree with, because you can't disagree with wanting to be a better person by driving better. You can have all sorts of political agendas, but no one's going to raise their hand if you say, raise your hand if you don't want to be a better person. So that's the way I come at it. It is very non-confrontational, and it builds community, and it gives kids something to do, and adults as well, because I want the sheriff to give me a speed gun and let me go and tell him how many times these guys speed down my street like a crazy fool with authority, instead of having to rely on their information or their non-existent information. They can't prove a negative. They don't know how many times I have to absorb the pain of somebody speeding down my street without any recourse. And that works against public trust and the love of the law and the respect, because they can't do anything about it, I can't do anything about it, and the Human Accountability Project was designed so I would have something to do about it. And that's where we're at.
Commissioner Paul, the presentation you did to the Criminal Justice Commission this morning, how long was that presentation?
I spoke for about 10 minutes. They had been issued in advance an electronic copy of the Human Accountability Project. I've left it the way I wrote it 7 years ago. So it has the name of Captain Dealey, who's now retired commander of the Sheriff's Department, and things like that. But the essential information is still the same. It's recruiting young people to help build this formula, get them involved, and help us all discover how the simple act of driving more responsibly can save us all time and unite us, a simple little thing. So,
does anyone else have any questions for Commissioner Paul?
I would say, Commissioner Paul, that if you need students, we could talk.
You have no idea how excited I am that you're on this commission.